Hello, everyone, and welcome to another Three Wells podcast. Today, I am so very fortunate to be joined by Katherine Golden and Greg Aperian, two very interesting people, great thought leaders, ton of experience in the industry, and with the products and everything we're about to talk about today. So what are we talking about today? We're talking about cannabis and CBD and THCV and THC and all those acronyms that I won't throw out to you at you all at once. We'll talk through them all in relation to health, wellness, and fitness. And we'll be talking about a couple products specifically that we've come across, the four of us, that we really think are great additions to your overall health, wellness, and fitness. Specifically, those are the Wana Optimals line of products. So we're going to dig in on those a little bit. And none of us are from Wana. Wana's not paying us for this. Wana's not giving us free anything. This is us taking a look at the products and things that are out there, like we always do at Three Wells, bringing you our best advice, bringing you new things that we see and how to use and get the most out of cannabis and CBD and every derivative thereof. So what we're going to do today is we'll meet both Katherine and Greg. Then we're going to move on to learn a little bit more about Leaf 411, who was founded by Katherine, and Katherine currently leads the organization. It's their CEO and founder, because they have a lot of great things that they can help with. And I'm not gonna steal Katherine's thunder, but there's a lot of great advice from nurses and other highly skilled, highly certified and trained people in our organization. So with that, let's do some quick intros so everyone in the audience can meet who these great people are. So we'll start with you, Katherine. I know you're a registered nurse. You've been in nursing for 26 years, and of those 26, you've focused 6 of them on cannabis, which I'm sure is over the 6 years of focus. And I'm sure you also did a lot of cannabis work prior to that, but I'm not going to steal any more of your thunder. Tell us all about you and especially tell us all about Leaf 411.
Yeah. So, just a little bit of background. I think anyone that you approach in cannabis, especially a clinician, usually has a personal story tied to how they got into cannabis. And the same happened with me. So, I was very much against cannabis. I never liked it personally, didn't work for me. I believed all the stigma and, I had stigma around it, and I believed all the propaganda around it, that it was just, there was no benefit to it. Even when it came to the state of Colorado and we were voting for it recreationally or adult use, I voted against it, and that's 2016. I mean, so that was not that long ago. 2012, 2016, that it was all coming to fruition. But it was because I didn't know anything. I just kind of believed what we were told as medical professionals. Then just out of the blue, my brother-in-law was suddenly diagnosed with stage 4 lung cancer and given 2 to 5 years to live. And he's in his late 40s with 2 kids in high school. And so my family was devastated. And, once you're diagnosed with something that severe, you're not medical people, but you're just, you're just loaded up with everything under the sun is for testing and possible studies that you can be in and things like that. So one of the lung cancer specialists mentioned cannabis and said, "Hey, we know nothing about it, but it'll be a last resort type thing we look at just because it's gained so much popularity." So I said, okay, I'm a medical professional in this family. I'll take a look at that. It's big here in Colorado. I don't know why, but let me look into the validity of this. So when I looked at the science, that's when I became a believer in looking at the black and white science, seeing that there's a lot out there, and everyone saying, oh, there's not enough science, is actually misinformation. There's a ton of science out there. It's not the science that is our FDA double-blind placebo human trials, because it's a Schedule 1. We are not allowed to do that. But there's tons of animal models and lab model studies, tons going back years. So when I really looked at it, I thought, wow, I wonder if this could help him. And thankfully it has. He's doing really well right now. We're going 6 years since. So it's been really wonderful. Yeah. It's been really wonderful. He's actually seeing one of the top cannabis clinicians in the country, Bonnie Goldstein out of California. But because I started looking into it, I knew right away, well, who's the top in this field? Who do I get him to? And let me study about it. So right away, I started taking courses. Everything is self-directed, self-learned when you're in a clinician, because there's no, back then, there's no school you could go to get a, certified, license in cannabis. We're still working at that. There's companies that offer education as certifications, but that's just what they're for-profit little companies. There's no national recognition that you are a certified cannabis nurse, so we're getting there though. But anyway, I started getting into the field, and then I saw a lot of other people when I was working in a cannabis clinician's office. And I started thinking, what about everybody else who doesn't have a medical professional in their life? How do they find out who to go to and what, is involved with starting cannabis or trying to integrate cannabis into their regimen? So that's when I started Leaf 411 as a nonprofit, because our number one thing I wanted to tackle is healthcare inequality. When I started seeing those patients coming in, everything's out of pocket. None of this is covered by insurance. And so every physician appointment, all your medicine, all your education is all out of pocket. And people were struggling. How do I pay for even my medicine, much less the education that goes around it. So that's why I started Leaf 411. We started with a hotline in October of 2019, and we've grown since. Now we do scheduled calls. We try to meet the public where they're at when they're ready to talk to us. We talk to people all across the country, whether they're in a legal or non-legal state, about CBD hemp and THC products. So we educate on just basics. We walk the line of nurse, what we are as nurses, which we're educators. We're going to tell you sometimes what you want to hear, sometimes what you don't want to hear, when you need to see a physician, and when it's okay to take something that's over the counter, and how to do it safely. So that's
so Katherine.
Yes.
Man, we should just create a whole podcast to talk about your background.
Sorry.
It's phenomenal.
I'm very passionate.
No, this is great. This is exactly what we all need. So you shared a lot, and can you distill down in like a couple of sentences what Leaf 411 is, who should use it, and what they would get from it?
Yeah. So we are a hotline, and we are also run by licensed medical professionals. So we're all nurses that have Western medicine training. So we're all registered nurses, but also in addition to that, have multiple cannabis certifications or trainings. So we've all had many years in nursing. So we do our hotline, which is calls that you can call in, and if we're available, we answer. We have a voice message that please schedule a call with us. We take scheduled calls. We do 30-minute guidance calls. We do 15-minute follow-up calls. And then we do virtual free education a couple times a year. We're relaunching an affordability program. So everything to meet the consumer and help them in this area of cannabis, just basic education. We get questions from around the country. How do I use it? What do I use? Where do I go? All of that stuff. Got it. And the phone number is? 844-LEAF411. So it's 844-LEAF411 or 844-532-3411. It's all on our website, leaf411.org. Everything's on, we try to make it very simple. Our programs, services page, how to get in touch with us. We have the Leaf library to find out research. I'm sure stuff we'll be talking about. So. Okay, great. And that will have just appeared on your screen, and also we'll put it at the end of our webinar, podcast, webcast, whatever cast you want to call this. Good times talking with good people. That's what we call it. We'll make sure that's on the screen at the end so everybody knows how to reach you. All right. So Greg, tough act to follow, but I know you can do it. Yes. So tell us all about you, and of course, your and my bias towards Three Wells, which full disclosure, we're both co-founders of Three Wells. But Greg, please tell us all about you.
Yeah, so Three Wells is a website that we have dedicated, or I should say targeted the content towards adults 50 and older. The reason for that is, one, we looked at it from a data point where most of us, Jason and I, are in this bucket too, that are over 50, have disposable income that we can spend on cannabis and CBD. We also all have at least one, if not more, I'm one with more, ailments in which we have found benefit through the plant. And I think what started as a stigma that you talked about, Catherine, especially in legal states, has transformed into curiosity. So we wanted to feed that. And the website has been around for a little over 3 years now, and is both a resource for knowledge and education. We have multiple professionals like Catherine, other doctors who work in cannabis and some outside of cannabis, creating content with us there. And commerce was always part of the vision too. So most of the brands, there are probably something like 70 brands, a few thousand products on the website in which you can find and either, depending on the state that you're in, have that product reserved so you can pick it up in store and or delivered to your home. So we've brought forth the modern day commerce enablement to the website as well too. And I think the reason Jason and I started it, similar to your mission there, Catherine, was for myself, I grew up in a family where recreational cannabis was welcomed, and I've used it, a good part of my life. But several years ago, I had a hip replacement, and shortly after that, I had a disc replaced in my back. And from prior minor surgeries that I had, because I work out a lot and take care of myself, and it always led to some form of injury. And I would say, the opioids that they give you never were a good fit for me. Made me nauseous, just all sorts of effects that I didn't want with my body. So I researched hard at that time. Where can I find cannabis supplements? Because I had now had, being a recreational user after these years, found that sort of that purpose-driven way to look differently, and you couldn't find anything online. No matter where you search, nothing credible, nothing for a more mature minded person like myself who was looking to better myself, more the wellness angle than to get high. And we couldn't find it. And it just became this epiphany for Jason and I that we needed to create this and bring this to the world. Now, there's lots of websites out there, lots that sell product, lots that have some basic content, but we've really tried to focus the content on this life stage and living your best life as you sort of age. So I think that what's been amazing about this journey is we've seen the industry mature incredibly. It's still not fully mature, but it's growing. And getting more sophisticated. And I think the laws, while still complicated, have also gotten easier in some areas for consumers. We now have, many more recreational states than where we started, and many medical. And it's becoming a real thing out there. And that's where feeding that curiosity, a lot of the content that we produce or the search patterns of our user, because we study their behaviors online, are all feeding curiosity versus, stigma that they're afraid of. So that's where every brand we work with has been welcome to create content with us or use our guidance on creating content for the right audience here.
Okay, great, thanks. So let's get into what we set out to talk about today, and that's cannabis in the context of health, wellness, and fitness. And because we're still early in the year, and there's still a whole bunch of people who are very focused on achieving their New Year's resolution about, whether it's lose weight, be healthier, get more sick, whatever it may be. People like me are still hopefully hanging on to that dream of actually making a big change this year. And for those of you that maybe have struggled a little, this is a great reset for you. So that we can, really help you get onto your health and wellness and overall fitness. So, Catherine, first question goes out to you. Cannabis and all of its, cannabinoids and derivatives, et cetera, mm-hmm. Does it really play a role in fitness and overall wellness? And if yes, how?
Yes, absolutely yes. So how is, there's many ways how. So when you talk about, let's just talk about fitness. So fitness, when you're actively exercising and even in recovery, you have inflammation. So cannabis, CBD, cannabidiol, one of those two top cannabinoids, which is CBD and THC. So that's what everybody knows, and they're the two majors. So CBD, there's lots of research out there showing the benefits to inflammation. So when you take cannabis or like as a supplement to physically working out, you can take it to help that healing when you've kind of, worked your muscles and you have that temporary inflammation, or even if you've unfortunately injured yourself. So yes, cannabis can be incorporated in many different ways when you're trying to treat pain, if you had an injury or you just overworked or something like that. There's different cannabinoids that touch different receptors. So THC, the other well-known one, is great for pain. So each cannabinoid, and there's over 100, or there's definitely more than 100, each cannabinoid works a little differently in the body. And then when you talk about wellness, or you talk about health, there's also preventative as well. We know that CBD and THC are neuroprotectants, meaning it protects your brain. And we know that. I mean, there's a US patent on them, and there was for years, because they actually, our government knew that they were antioxidants and neuroprotectants. And you can find that when you Google, and you look at information up. So there's a lot of ways cannabis can be integrated for health and wellness, or, fitness and wellness.
Okay. You touched on this question to both of you, whoever is most comfortable jumping on it, talked about cannabinoids and their, the fact that some of the cannabinoids are good protectors and antioxidants, et cetera, et cetera. There's a system in our body that deals with that. Can you describe that? And I'm leading the witness here, but can you describe that system, what it is, what it does, what it's called?
Sure. It's the endocannabinoid system. The ECS is what you'll see written all over articles and stuff. So the endocannabinoid system is there to create homeostasis. Homeostasis just means balance, brings balance to the body. So when you're in an excitatory phase, whether it's stress or an injury or something like that, it actually is there to calm the bodies. So we have compounds in our bodies that mimic the cannabis plant. They're called endocannabinoids. So they're what our body naturally produces. So that is our endocannabinoid system. Homeostasis is your number one word you're going to see thrown around, and that's just that balance in the body. So that's what it does. So it's great because we already make these compounds in our body, and then now we have this plant that we can introduce to help adjunct it to make it even better, and all in different ways. So,
Greg, cover a couple of things with you. So we just talked about endocannabinoid system, cannabinoids, et cetera, et cetera. And you deal a lot and you said it at the very beginning, in the 50 plus space. So would it be fair to say that those of us that are 50 plus, and I will never admit that I am, ever, even when I'm 80.
Me too.
Is it fair to say that once you hit that 50-ish range and older, you are more prone to inflammation, you have more stresses in your life, et cetera, and these types of products and cannabinoids, et cetera, play a much more important and bigger role in someone's life over 50? If you agree with that, great. If you disagree, please say. And how do you think it plays a role?
I think in my experience, it has. I don't know that it's that way for everyone, because everybody's body's different. And if your mind is fighting, if you've got the stigma, you're not sort of going into it easy, right? So that might even prevent you from the ultimate feeling that you're trying to get to. But I feel like there's the mind and body equalization. As Katherine said, it brings balance. So if I sneeze at this age and pull out my back, which I'm embarrassed to say has happened a number of times, but then, I think there's a mixture of supplements there in cannabis, whether it's just all THC or just CBD or a little bit of both that I need for pain and inflammation, that both relaxes that muscle, but also brings, my mind to ease as well about it. So I think, most people are not aware of the difference of THC and CBD. If you're 40, 50, maybe you are, and you're looking for that. But the older the audience gets that we serve, the less they know and fear, because not everybody wants that sort of psychedelic feeling. And there's so many products now out there that you don't have to use a psychedelic solution to get that ease of comfort that you're looking for.
I think it's an important point to stress that you raise there, Greg, because I think the perception is as soon as someone hears cannabis, they hear, oh, I'm going to get stoned, I'm going to be out of control, I'll be goofy, I'll want to eat Doritos, whatever it may be. But in fact, that's only really about the THC.
Correct.
And so let's once and for all, hopefully remove all of that from our minds, that just because it says cannabis doesn't mean you're going to get high. Now, in talking with you both prior to this, because yes, we do talk about the podcast ahead of doing the podcast, you both brought up, THC, CBD, and all these other cannabinoids. But one of the ones I want to zero in on, because in a minute I want to talk about some specific products that people can and should be looking at. But one of the things that you both raised was THCV. And I'm going to come back to you, Katherine. THCV, what is it? How is it different than THC? If it is, what are its effects, et cetera, et cetera?
Yeah, sure. So it's what we call a minor cannabinoid. So your two major cannabinoids are CBD, cannabidiol, and THC. THCV is minor. So you can think of it as like the cousin to THC. Tetrahydrocannabidiol is what its full name is. The most simplistic way to think of it is it actually acts opposite of THC. So this is why everybody in the cannabis realm, especially medical professionals, have been excited knowing that this minor cannabinoid exists, because there's so much potential with it. There's so much I want to touch on too with what you guys were saying before, that, most of our callers, I would say about 90% of them do not want to get high. They want to use it for health and wellness, do not want to get high at all. So they're really avoiding that. And 60% of our callers are over the age of 50. So we really have educated ourselves on all, the most available cannabinoids, THC being one of them now, it's coming to market, and what its potential is. So the way it works, THCV works on the receptor is, you think of it kind of like gear shifting. If you think of THC kind of putting you in second and third gear, and CBD kind of putting you in neutral, THCV puts you in reverse, and that's what it does. It actually has the opposite. So when you think of THC, like you were saying, you giving you the munchies, THCV does the opposite, kind of kills that appetite. And it decreases your appetite. So it acts in very different ways.
So when it kills your appetite, you could, and I want to play the extreme, because I think it would be something that would come up in people's mind. It came up in my mind. So am I at the risk of malnutrition, losing too much weight, or never being hungry again, and, turning into a rail? So what extreme does THC play there, or not?
Yeah, so that's a good question, because, because it's such a minor cannabinoid, and it's, it has to be bred in a strain, and they're starting to do that now. It's very tiny amounts that they find it. So it doesn't have that large of an impact. So THCV can curb your desire. So what it really does is it works on the reward system in your body, in your mind. So when you're eating something and you just kind of, you're not thinking about it, you're just eating more and more, what THCV has found to do, and there is research to this, you can look on PubMed, Science Direct, Healthline, it can help kill kind of that reward, that, I just, that desire to keep rewarding yourself with some of that food. So, and that's kind of a really unique way to do it. So, no, you can't, it's not going to, cut out all your desire for food at all. It's nothing like that, but in a subtle way, that's what that little cannabinoid has shown promise to do, which is to curb your appetite, actually bring some energy. So see, THC kind of makes you more sedated, where THCV does the opposite, gives you more focus, and a little bit more energy.
And I feel like as a longtime user of cannabis for both recreational and wellness, what's happened to me that I imagine has happened to many others is you become a connoisseur, just like someone who loves wine. You pick the right wine for the right feeling to go with the right food, et cetera. And here, the more you learn and know, you can construct the right type of product and way to consume it that suits your need there. So if you only use it at night and want to go to sleep earlier, use an indica. It's more apt to sort of put you to sleep than that of a sativa that will be more uplifting. And I think when you really start to, even the basic education, put all this together, when you go to the store or online, look for that, now you're getting very specific about who are the brands that offer THCV, and there's only so many, right? And you just really hone in on exactly what you want and the effect that you want as the outcome.
Correct.
So let's get specific, Greg. You've talked about THCV and you alluded to products. So I think at this point, as a member of the listening audience, I go, okay, so where do I get it and what do I do with it, et cetera, et cetera. So Greg, I know you've come across and you shared with me and I looked at them as well, these products that are from Wana. And one of them, it's under their Wana Optimals line. And they have two, one is sleep, one is fit. We'll talk about both, but let's right now, since we're on this line of THCV, I'll get it right. One of them is their fit, and it has THCV in it. What do you think about it? As far as a product, and what does it do, and what doesn't it do?
I probably would start with Katherine here, but I think, it's, correct me if I'm wrong from our combined knowledge here, but its ultimate goal is for those that don't work out and don't want to put in the exercise or the resistance training and whatnot. It's a nice supplement for you, right? To whether it's to cut back on your eating like Katherine was talking about, or ease all those urges you might have otherwise, and could also act as that, what's the word you were using there, Katherine, when you're, I'm sorry?
Suppressant?
No, it's more when you're done working out to sort of bring
recovery.
Recovery, thank you. Yeah, a recovery mechanism.
Yeah, no, so you're right. I mean, it can be used for both groups though. So you can, if you're someone that, doesn't have the time to work out and you're looking for some kind of supplement, it could be useful for sure, but also in the group that does work out. I'm a CrossFitter, so we plateau at different points of our, working out throughout the year, and you need that little something, and you're looking for, even if it's something subtle, what is it? What can I get me through that plateau that I'm hitting? So, I think for both groups, either someone who's sedentary, and is looking for something that kind of jumpstart, or for somebody that is very much into fitness and looking for something to, help them get through those hard plateaus that we face. So I think either one is a great option.
It's interesting because it's, this concept here could be clouded in stigma for some unless you really understand this, because you might ask yourself, if you're working out, whatever your workout is, why would I use, a cannabis or CBD supplement? But this is one that we're talking about here that doesn't get you high. It gives you that energy that you need to get through that workout.
Yeah. And it also has CBD in it. So it has 10 milligrams of CBD. It has a 0.5 milligram of the THCV, which is very small. And then it has 0.1 milligram of THC. So it's just a whisper of it. So what we were talking about earlier is those other cannabinoids have different medicinal benefits. So now you're getting 10 milligrams of THC in that, 10 milligrams of CBD in that product. CBD is, helps like an anti-anxiety, brings balance, so it can help with some of that stress that you feel as well. And then that little whisper of THC is great for pain, works on those pain receptors. So now you have the whole combination. So that's why it's great for anyone who is physically fit as well. It can be a great product.
So Katherine, we hear again and again throughout, talking about cannabis and various products, the entourage effect. So is what you're saying basically that this, Wana has done a good job at getting this entourage effect?
Yes, we do, as you know, science, as clinicians, we do believe in the entourage effect. The components together are better than the single one component. So, you know, there's studies to it. There's lots, you know, Dr. Ethan Russo is really the one that kind of launched this idea and this theory and has done studies. You can look him up and find all his work online. But the cannabinoids together work best. So if you got THC has been out since, gosh, I think in dronabinol or Marinol, that's the synthetic THC since, I want to say the 80s or 90s. It's been around. People just, you know, pharmaceutically, it's been there, but it by itself, synthetically, that's a tough drug to take. But now when you have it, what it's meant in nature, when you have the other minor cannabinoids with it, and then the terpenes and the things that bring the emotion and the smells and the scents that also has medicinal benefits, now you're getting a superior product versus the one compound.
So I'm going to be the layman here.
Sure.
It tastes good too.
I hope so.
That matters. I mean, how many of us have taken some sort of supplement? And this and Wana doesn't claim it as a supplement. They are very clear that it's helped with appetite suppression and for overall fitness. It doesn't say it's going to build muscle or, you know, make you 20 years old again. But look, it does taste good. It has a fruit punch flavor. For those that are vegan and or have gluten sensitivities, it is a vegan product and gluten-free. And what I find with all the Wana products in general is that the texture and flavor and everything are great. I've had many a gummy that was mealy or bitter or whatever, but these, you know, for what it's worth, they work and they taste good. So to both of you, I'm curious, you know, what you would recommend as far as when someone took these things and how much, because that matters. You know, too often I see people taking way too much cannabis for all kinds of different reasons, or they do things like, I'm going to take it for a day or two, and if it doesn't do something, then obviously it isn't working and I quit. So do either of you or both of you have advice as to when people shouldn't, and how to take these types of products? And we can focus in on the Wana Fit specifically since we're talking about it.
Yeah. So, you know, what we always educate towards as nurses is we look at the studies, we looked at the information that comes along with the product. And the study that Wana did with theirs was a 90-day study. And so to get the average weight loss, which was, I believe, about 10 pounds, when you were taking one gummy every day for 90 days, that's what we educate to. You know, there are people that but Wana has surveyed that has said, well, I only needed a half a gummy, or one didn't do enough, so I took two. Then I really felt the little bit of, you know, more focus and energy. So, you know, it's always kind of like we know with cannabis, everything is individualized. Everybody's body, you know, works differently with cannabis. Same for this product. But I go to the studies. So when we educate the public on this product, we say, well, here's what the study provided, and this is what we suggest that you start with, which would be one gummy once a day for 90 days. And that's your good test run. So like going back to what you were saying is, you're right, you know, taking it for a week, I don't know, you might notice the energy difference, but you're not going to be able to really see it through and see if you get that average weight loss that their study participants did.
Yeah, and generally the best advice that any doctor's ever given me in this area is start small, right? So maybe you didn't take enough and it didn't work the way that you expected, but then don't quit, to your point. The next time, take a little bit more and a little bit more until you feel it, right? So there's a little bit of experimentation in all of this, but there is some good guidance on our website as well as Leaf 411 for all of this.
So listening to you guys, I would say, hey, if you want some advice from registered nurse, call V411. They'll gladly walk you through all this. You want to read articles about the THCV and see the Wana product. And I'm not pitching, I'm just summarizing information sources here. You want specific product information and be able to buy the product, then obviously go to 3 Wells, and of course all the education in written form that's all around the products and THCV and CBD, et cetera, et cetera. Fair, yeah.
Yep.
Okay. All right. So on the other side of that same coin, so we have the appetite suppression, overall fitness and wellness. A big part of that is recovery. Now there's recovery during the day where you're stretching, drinking water, et cetera, but also Wana, and I think they did this by design, they have the fit and then they have the sleep. And sleep is such an incredibly important part of recovery. So, Katherine, when it comes to cannabis and sleep, and the Wana product specifically, the Wana Optimals Sleep, I think is the full name of it. We'll put it on the screen. What are your thoughts on that? And does a cannabis product play a major role in sleep recovery and overall fitness and wellness in that way?
Mm-hmm. Yes, absolutely. So the product of Wana is called Fast to Sleep. It's in their Optimals line, and I took a look at it. And what they did is exactly what we were talking about before, is the entourage effect. So they have CBD, CBN, CBG, and melatonin. They have that in there as well. So they put all these compounds together to give you the best benefit that you could possibly get. So CBD, again, at night, sometimes your mind chatters and people always call, how do I stop my mind from chattering? Well, that's anxiety during sleep. CBD can help with that. Then you've got CBN, cannabinol. So that one, it's touted online as a sleepy cannabinoid, but there's really not very much research that points to that, unfortunately. The research that did point to it, there was THC involved. So you're like, it's probably the THC. But what there is study is if you combine it with CBD, then you're hitting a home run and it's really targets pain as well. So does a CBG, cannabigerol, targets pain. So what do most people, what is the root cause of them not sleeping well? A lot of it is pain, whether it's mental pain, emotional pain, or it's physical pain. So if you're now putting some of those products in a nice little package, now you're giving your body the best chance to sleep. And sleep is so important for just mind and body recovery. So, when you have lack of sleep, you can't recover fully, mind and body. So it's vitally important. There's actually a really great researcher in Canada who is, was screaming from the mountaintops years ago that, everybody ignores sleep and we should look at sleep as number one. If we can help people sleep, we can help them recover in a lot of their ailments, and get to the root cause. So this product, I think, hits a home run because of that, because they put a lot of different compounds in it.
And one of the other added benefits to it, in addition to everything you just said, is I think a lot of people have a stigma of, if they take a sleep agent like that they'll be groggy in the morning, and none of that, right? It's not a sedative like an opioid that would cause that.
Right. I mean, you could get that way if you ate a few of those gummies, but you shouldn't, right? There's serving sizes on there. And as at Sleep 411 nurses, we talk to the public about serving size. Always take a serving size, which is one gummy. And we actually tell our older adults, because you have slower metabolism, the older you get, the slower you metabolize products, cut that gummy into 4 pieces. Let's start with just a quarter of it, for one night. Then night 2, start with, a half of it, and then go up that way. That's a really safe way to walk yourself into this realm. But then also looking at the ingredients, and there's 2 milligrams of THC. For most people, that's not an impairing amount of THC. It has 1 milligram of melatonin. So, melatonin is a hormone. So it's not a sedative. People get that, misunderstand what melatonin really does. It really just kind of tells your body, hey, it's time to sleep. It's sundown. It's not a sedative. It's just telling your body, telling the hormone that it's time to recognize that it's evening. So all of these together are at low doses to not experience high euphoria. But don't misunderstand that if, there was somebody that said, I'm going to eat this whole bottle. Oh, you're going to be high. Yeah. So you've got to be careful.
Yeah.
So personally, I've taken a pretty deep interest in cannabis and sleep. because, and I can say without a doubt, yes, there are medical studies. Yes, there's all the books and great sources like you and your team, Catherine, out there that talk about, and 3Wells that talk about sleep and cannabis. I can tell you this firsthand, and no less than a dozen of close friends and family have come to me over the last 3-4 years talking about sleep issues and what do they do. And they knew I worked in cannabis and they would ask me about cannabis. And to a person, they have had phenomenally better sleep with cannabis. They don't have that grogginess in the morning that you alluded to, Greg, with other drugs and whatnot. They feel like it's more natural. It's more readily available to them. And they have much more consistent success with sleep than with any sort of artificial drug like, I guess I shouldn't name them. We all know what they are, the sleeping. Right. And it has not only affected their sleep, but it has affected their entire life. Less stress, more energy, and not all of them work out. None of them are all fitness buffs or, focused on great eating or whatnot, but just overall better feeling. So I can't stress enough to find the product that works well for you to sleep and use it regularly. Give it a chance. The minimum you can take it for, in my experience, again, I'm not a medical professional in any way. You give it 3 nights to really know what's going to happen. And after that, you can start to balance more or less, like you said, Catherine, that 2 milligrams of THC or more. But just give it the 3 nights, and after that, start to balance. Figure out what your amount is, and then after that, once you find it over the next 3 or 4 nights, after that, you're great. You're golden. So there's a non-medical professional's firsthand experience about cannabis and sleep, and I think Wana's done a good job. What they call it, the dream berry flavor. Again, tastes good, gluten free, vegan, but also works. So great taste aside, it works well.
And you might also find use for both of them, the sleep and the fit in your day-to-day as well too, which, there's many studies out there that have proven, at least to now, that these products don't cause overdosing or any issues like any other drug that we are aware of out there. So if you use them carefully, if you use them in small doses like we're talking about for your daily ritual, there's nothing wrong with that.
Right. That's usually the first thing, I like to tell any of our callers, one of the big weights I want to take off their shoulder is the safety profile of cannabis. There's no lethal dose out there that we know of that you can physically take of cannabis. It's not a respiratory depressant, it doesn't slow down your heart. So it's not going to do the things that some pharmaceuticals can do. So that's a huge weight off anyone's shoulder to say, okay, you may feel like you're going to die when you take too much because it is awful, some of those side effects, but you can't physically, if it's just the cannabis plant, nothing else that you've taken, if it's just the cannabis, you can't physically, there's no lethal dose of it. So you can't physically die of just ingesting the cannabis plant. So that's usually something that, weighs heavily on the mind of the public that's new to cannabis, and just telling them that, saying, okay, if you're looking at a pharmaceutical or cannabis, we all in the medical field think cannabis should be more of a first line product to take than a last line because of the safety profile and the least amount of side effects it has compared to a pharmaceutical. So
with that, I'm hoping everybody that's listening / watching has gotten a ton out of this because I know I have. And Catherine, I'll open this to you first and then you, Greg. Is there anything that, over the course of our conversation that you feel like, hey, we should highlight this a little bit more or probe on that? If not, that's fine. But I want to make sure that, you've gotten to share with everyone all of your thoughts and experiences.
Yeah, I think the main thing is you don't have to be impaired to get medicinal benefits from cannabis. Sorry. You don't have to be impaired. And that, I think, is everyone's number one. Even if it's a sleep product, even if it's any kind of cannabis product, what we really talk about right now is what's called microdosing, which is just taking small amounts. And, going back to what you said, Greg, start low and slow. We know that that's a cannabis slogan, and that's just very true. You start, very low in milligrams and go up very slowly. But we still get those questions almost daily from people across the country saying, do I have to get high to treat my arthritis? Do I have to get high to fall asleep? And no, you don't. Just a little bit touches your receptors, and actually you can feel the medicinal benefits. So that's one thing I like to stress is the safety profile, and you don't have to be impaired to get the medicinal benefits.
Yeah, and I would say the same rules apply. These particular fantastic Wana products we're talking about today are edibles, come in the form of gummies, so you ingest it. But there is cannabis that you can inhale, as everyone's familiar with. You can drink it. You can rub it as an ointment on your skin, drop it under your tongue. It comes in so many forms nowadays, and it's that experimentation, same rules of like low dosing and figure it out. But I have found that when I used to be more of someone who would inhale it in my past, I've moved on to other methods now because it works better for me. I need less of it nowadays, and I still get all those benefits out of it. So you just have to experiment a little bit to find what works best for you.
Yeah, and that's what we talk about is route. So you nailed it right there. A lot of people are using the wrong route. So, some people have trouble falling asleep and some people have trouble staying asleep. And what the nurses can educate you to is that's why the gummy is good, because that's to stay asleep. Anything that you swallow and ingest, it's going to last around 6 to 8 hours. So that's what you want. But if you just have trouble falling asleep and you can stay asleep forever, then the gummy is going to take really long to kick in. And that's when an inhaled product is, fast acting, or a fast acting gummy or a fast acting tincture would be more ideal. So, call us and we can help you understand which route is ideal for what you're trying to treat.
Great. Okay. So Katherine, once again, how do people get a hold of Leaf 411? If you could give us your contact info.
Yep, you can reach out to us by our website, leaf411.org. You can call us at 844-LEAF411. And we have information on how to schedule an appointment with us. You can call the hotline. If our nurses aren't on other calls, we can talk to you right then. We even have a chat, so you can come to us by way of chat. And then we have, really important, is our Leaf library. So any search term you want to put in, you can put insomnia. And then you can see all the articles and studies that we try to put as up to date as possible on a lot of ailments, and frequently asked questions also about cannabis.
Great, thank you. And Greg, Three Wells, where do people find Three Wells and or you?
Three Wells, the website is spelled THREEWELLS.co. And these Wana products that we highlighted today are one of many that are on the website, which you can find, learn more about, and purchase depending on where you live. So we have lots of new content we're always putting out there around all of this education. Our goal is to inform you so you make the right decisions in what you're trying to experiment with.
Fantastic. All right. Well, with that, please visit Leaf 411 and of course, threewells.co. So thank you both, Katherine and Greg, for sharing all your knowledge and experience with us. And with that, we're going to wrap up for today. So thank you both.
Thanks.
Thank you.
Everybody.